way on that accelerated track to the point where, as a senior, they were taking college physics or AP class.
Right. So if you're not selected in 7th grade, you've lost that opportunity to advance. You're kind of left behind.
Not really left behind. You're just so the skills
But you don't
start.
have the opportunity to catch up to the folks that are already on that track.
You will, because you'll still have the opportunity to take physics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you definitely will.
Senior year.
Be senior year, science year. So yeah, you would.
So a ninth grader taking biology, can take biology at 9, or science at 10, chemistry at 11, and physics or college physics.
Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Ms. Sampson.
Sure.
So we have to use the mic now because people joining us online can't hear us. So they missed that first introduction from Ms. Bishop. But while we're waiting for the other teachers to be released from classes, I'll start in on the 9th grade transition information sheet. So like Ms. Bishop said, eventually our diploma and credit requirements will be changing. The full implementation starts with the cohort of 29. So that doesn't really affect your students right now. It could affect them. It could affect, because I don't know what New York State is doing yet. They haven't released all their information. It could affect them in 11th and 12th grade year, but as of now, this is what we're going on. If things change, we'll definitely be in communication with you. But right now, to graduate from high school, you need 22 credits to graduate from high school. You need 4 years of English, 4 years of social studies, 3 years of science and math, although we always recommend 4. You need 1 credit of a fine art. That fine art can be studio and art. It can be band. It can be chorus. It can be music lab. Those are the 4 introductory fine art classes. You need 1 credit of LOT, which is either Spanish or Russian, which they are getting between 7th and 8th grade. So if they pass 7th grade, Spanish or Russian, 8th grade, Spanish or Russian, and the proficiency at the end of this year, they get that 1 LOT credit. If they're not successful, completely okay. We will work on that next year, and we will get them into Spanish 1 next year for that 1 requirement. You need 2 full credits of PE. PE is you have to take every year, every semester that you're in high school. So every year you get a half credit, which adds up to the 2 full credits of PE. You need to take health in high school 1 time, and that's a half credit. And the rest of the credits of the 22 are made up from elective credits. Elective credits can be, you can continue taking band and chorus throughout high school. You can take more art classes, more business classes, completely up to you. You need to get to that 22 credits. The Regents exams that are required right now, 5 for a Regents diploma. So you need 1 math Regents, typically that's algebra. You need social studies, which would be global. You need at least 1 science, English, and then you need 1 extra. So the 5th Regents exam can either be another math, another social studies, or another science. It's typically U.S. history because that's just part of the progression. You're going to sit for that Regents exam because you're in the class. Some students who aren't successful with that, with the 2 social studies, there's another shot for science, there's another shot for math. So there's a lot of opportunities there. There's also a work-based learning opportunity, and you can get a CDOS credit, and that can also take place of that 5th Regents exam. And that is something that is really case by case. So if that's something that your student is looking at, then that would be something we would talk about more in depth outside of this setting. There's also the opportunity for an advanced Regents diploma. So that just shows colleges, specifically New York State colleges, that you've challenged yourself, that you've taken the more challenging classes and you've been successful in them. So for that, you need 9 exams. Sounds like a lot, but you take it at the end of each class. So you would take 3 years of math and the Regents exams. So you would take algebra, you would take geometry, and you would take algebra 2. You would take 2 social studies Regents exams. So you would take global and U.S. history. 2 science exams. So you need at least living environment and earth science, because you need a life and a physical. So it would be living environment and earth science. You need the English exam, and you need a foreign language exam. That foreign language exam is at the end of year 3. So you would take Spanish 1, 2, and 3, and at the end of 3, you would get the requirement for the advanced regions, and you would also pass that local exam. It's not really a regions exam.
Quick question about the Russian students and
Yeah.
how does that work with them not being able to take?
Sure. So the Russian students who are in Russian, so I'm assuming your child's in Russian 8 this year? So the Russian 8 students, next year they can take Spanish 1. That will be their option if they want to take the 3 years. And so they would start off Spanish 1, 2, and 3. That's how they would progress. Yeah. Yeah. There was definitely a big change this year with that. And the students have been great, really, with adapting to it. Questions on that? We will go through this every year with your student. We sit down with them during scheduling time and we talk to them about the requirements. Obviously, if things change going forward, we will be in communication with you and the student. But right now, this, like I said, this is what we're going off of.
So are you expecting the state to come out with higher credits required or less credits required?
That's a great question. We don't know. We have no idea what they're going to do. The communication they've put out is that they're going to change what diplomas look like. They're going to change what coursework looks like, and they're going to change what Regents exams look like and how students achieve the Regents exam credit. Some of it might be changing in 2027. The state right now has said that it's definitely going into effect for the cohort of 29. So that's this year's 5th graders? No.
29 is 8th graders.
No, they're the class of, it's different. So the class of 29 and the cohort of 29 are 2 different things. So class, yes, I know, New York State likes to mess things up. So the cohort is is the September you start 9th grade is your cohort. The year you graduate is your class of. Yeah, has a lot of people confused. No, I get that. So the cohort of 29, I think is this year's 5th graders. So those 5th graders coming up, they're the ones that are going to see the major change. All the classes in between, there might be some changes, but we don't know exactly what those look like yet. I am thinking it's probably going to be this, just me thinking, just how New York State has been, it's probably going to be the same amount of credits, but how you get those credits is going to be different. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
These credits are minimum, right?
Yeah, minimum. A lot of students graduate with much more. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to make sure there's no.
Okay. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about 9th grade courses, what they're going to be taking in 9th grade. So we'll be going over this little box down at the bottom on the right and the course selection sheet that we went over with the students in their classroom. We went in a little bit earlier this year, but they still have opportunity to take this home, talk with you, make any changes if needed. So in 9th grade, they don't have a lot of options for electives. As they get older into the older grades, they'll have their possibly 3 years of math and science. And if they don't, we do recommend it, but if they do decide not to take one or the other, they have more room for other electives. Senior year, they have most of their classes out of the way except for English and social studies and PE. So then they have a lot of opportunity to take electives. In 9th grade, they don't have as much opportunities for that, but that's okay because there's requirements they have to meet first. Everybody has to take English. So every student circled English 9 on their course selection sheet. Every student has to take Global History 1. So that's what they circled for social studies. Math, it depends. We get teacher recommendations from the 8th grade math teacher where they feel they would be best suited in their math class. If they're an accelerated student, they would be in algebra this year. So they would circle geometry for next year. Pre-algebra, we have pre-algebra or algebra. Pre-algebra is a math before the algebra class. So they would take pre-algebra in 9th and algebra in 10th grade. If they find that math is a little bit more challenging for them, they would take it for 2 years the pre-algebra and the algebra class before they take the Regents in June, their sophomore year. If students are finding that math is less challenging for them, they would be recommended for algebra, and then they would take the Regents at the end of 9th grade and then go into geometry for 10th grade. If a student is in pre-algebra, they still get 1 full math credit. And then when they go into algebra the next year, they get a second math credit. So it doesn't get them behind in credits or anything like that. It just gives them more time to learn the material and prep for the Regents. So we already had that pre-figured out with the math teacher's recommendations. Science, if, like Ms. Tennyson said, if they're in biology this year, they would have circled earth science for next year. If they're in science 8 this year, they circle life science. They're calling it life science next year, but it's biology. And then earth and space science is what they're renaming earth science. So I think they're redoing the curriculum a bit with those 2 classes. World language, we just talked about that a little bit. If they have taken 2 years in 7th and 8th grade of their language and passed the proficiency exam, they get that 1 high school credit minimum required. And if they've been in Spanish 7 and 8 and they want to continue on for their advanced Regents diploma, they would circle Spanish 2. And then like Ms. Fulgen said, with the Russian students, they would circle Spanish 1 if they want to continue with that advanced Regents diploma, and they have time to get those 3 years in. I'm going to skip electives for a minute. Every student has to take PE, like Mrs. Fulgen said, every semester that they're here. So they circled that. They circled lunch. They have the opportunity for an honors class, which is a humanities-based class. It's reading, writing, project-based, group work. So students, it's based on teacher recommendation, and also students with an overall 90 or above average. But they have the opportunity to check that box if they'd really like to be considered for it. And then the teachers know them. The 8th grade teachers will recommend, look at their grades and think about how they've done throughout the year. And then we'll make that recommendation for that. Special education students, if they are going to be getting resource room, we know this after their IEP meetings, they would circle that. REACH is something that students can do in middle school and high school. It's a structured study hall. If they need some more help getting their homework done, that's a great program for them to be in. So typically students who are in that in middle school do continue to do that in high school. They can graduate though. I just had a high schooler that he's in 10th grade. He decided to, he decided, but the teacher decided that he's doing well. His grades are good. He's doing well and he's getting his homework done. So he doesn't need to be in REACH anymore. So that opens up a spot for a kid who may be struggling with their homework. So it is a fluid class. The kids really do like it. And then back to electives, they have, every student needs 1 fine art credit, so 1 music or art credit to graduate. So their choices are studio art, band, chorus. Jazz is a half-year class, so that's more of an extra class that they would take. It's more selective, they try out this. The teacher sees what their abilities are. And then we have a newer class this coming year called Music Lab for those students who really aren't as excited about art or don't want to do band or chorus. It's a general music class that similar to what they took in middle school, where they can get that credit. So each student needs at least 6 units of credit plus PE. So 6 classes plus PE. So that's where they have more of the choices with the language and the elective, if they'd like to move forward with the Advanced Regents diploma and take the extra years of language, or in the music fine arts area. Does anyone have any questions about the 9th grade course selection?
Pass these back and forth. So I just want to say that if your student is interested in art courses, studio and art is a prerequisite for all the other art classes that we offer. So if they decide that they want to do photography, or they want to drawing and painting, or 3D design and sculpture, jewelry making down the road, then they definitely have to take studio and art. If they don't take it next year, that's completely okay. They'll have another opportunity in 10th grade, but that's just something just a reminder.
Any questions about that? Okay.
A little bit more about the honors class, what teachers need to recommend and
So the 8th grade English and social studies teachers recommend the student for the honors class because it's humanities based. So it's a mixture of some social studies and English with the reading, writing, group project work. But the humanities piece is more of the social studies end of things. So we look at their overall average, and then the teachers recommend them for that class.
Can I say a little bit more?
Sure, yeah.
My son's currently in that class. Ms. Furlong and Mr. Jakes are the co-teachers. It is a really small class. There's probably about 12 or 15 kids in it. They have to give up their lunch every other day for it, so there is a little bit of commitment there. And then if they continue on into 10th grade, they do get a college credit for the honors. They don't really get homework for it. There is a lot of team-based. They make newspaper towers. They do current events. They give presentations. They just gave a presentation to the 8th grade about the honors class. That was part of their grade. So it's a lot of hands-on, but I feel like they get a lot of experience in public speaking and working together with other people.
Yes. Yeah, they can bring their lunch to the class, but then they can go to the cafeteria. It's every other day. So the opposite days, they eat their lunch in class, I think,
Or they can go to the lunchroom. They might have lunch.
first and then go to class. Yeah.
Also looks really nice on, eventually when they're a senior, transcript, but also a resume when we make letters of recommendation for them. Say, hey, they're an honor student.
They took this class. Yeah.
Their achievements already.
And Mrs. Perfetti did bring it up, college credit options in the high school. Students can start earning college credit in 10th grade. We have a lot of options, especially in our business department. There are classes that are offered through Hudson Valley. Our foreign language classes for the 4 and 5 level, you can earn college credit. You can earn college credit in some of the math classes. There's a couple music electives that you can earn college credit in, English, social studies. So we do have the option for students to come out of here with a good chunk of college credits. There is a cost to the college credits, but it's usually a reduced rate. And if you qualify for free reduced lunch, it's even possibly free. So that's really, really good for them to start building a college transcript. Hudson Valley also offers high school students the opportunity to earn college credit over the summer. That can start in 10th grade. So in going into your 10th grade, going into your 11th grade, going into your 12th grade year over the summer, you could do college in the high school classes through Hudson Valley. They have online classes, they have hybrid classes. So sometimes you're on campus, sometimes you're online. Those are free, which is nice. And you can earn up to 8 college credits for free over the summer at Hudson Valley. So that's something really nice to look into. And you could even it's free. So that might be a good way for your child to explore different classes that they might not have the opportunity to take here, to see if they're interested in it. If your child wants to be a doctor, and they take intro to medical terminology and they absolutely hate it, maybe not the right path. Just a little intro to it. If you don't even like that, then maybe it's not a good thing. Or maybe they take a business class and they're like, I didn't realize I love this and this is a path I want to take. So there are definitely different opportunities. That schedule comes out usually in May, and we will post it on the district website. The college schedule for Hudson Valley is out, but their high school classes aren't yet. So that's another opportunity for them. I just wanted to let you know that.
It's grant-based right now, and it's been grant-based, so hopefully that continues.
Yes, we're hoping it does.
Sliden's going to talk about some clubs that are offered in the high school.
can I go back to the honors? So
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard our student say something about there was going to be a lot of homework with honors, and I heard that there isn't really a lot. So that's good news.
It's good to know, right?
Were students given the option for the ones that were recommended for honors? Were they given the option, and then they could not choose that?
They could not choose it. They presented to the whole 8th grade on the honors class, and then they can check if they're interested, but yes, it is ultimately their choice, yes.
So when we went into schedule, the honors class hadn't presented yet because there was a snow day, so they weren't able to do that. So we presented when we scheduled, and then I think the next Tuesday, the honors class went in and presented again. So the students had 2 opportunities to say they were interested. We will pull all their names, look through them, and then from there, we'll generate the list. If a student signed up for it, was recommended, and then decides they don't want to do it, then okay, just let us know.
Yeah, and we encourage them to go home we gave them a copy of their sheet. We encourage them to go home, review it with their parents, and, they're welcome to make changes. We accept changes up until May. So we'd like them before that, but, but we'll take them till May.
Right. So we've got a lot of club opportunities once you get into the high school. We're going to be updating this list because there is like Russians phasing out and everything, but there are some things that aren't mentioned on here that I would like to highlight. We have the book club, a clay target club. We have the trap team, which is also run by Mrs. Furlong, and that's a shooting sport. There is, I believe it's called Anglers Club, but for fishing, which is, it's just some of the really cool things that I don't know, I find cool. We have the GSA, which is the Gay Straight Alliance, run by Mrs. DeRosier this year. She's our 10th grade English teacher. We have Key Club, which is also one of those things I feel like similar to honors, National Junior Honor Society, National Honor Society, where you're putting that towards your resume. It's a lot of good community-based experiences and volunteering, right? We have Masterminds, which that's Mrs. Scarup, correct? Or
Steve Pompicella.
all right. And so Masterminds is,
I consider it like Jeopardy for kids.
yeah.
So it's a lot of, they're presented with like a quiz show. No, it's like a quiz show kind of. They go to competition and they're presented with a question and they have to answer it. Yeah. We also have Odyssey of the Mind well, that's elementary school. OVA inside.
OVA is another one where that's Mrs. Sheffer. I think they've got a field trip coming up. I don't remember where, but that's going to be similarly in the visual arts realm. National Junior Honor Society is 9th grade. They just had their ceremony, was it Wednesday? Yep. And that is like that intro into then Honor Society where, you're upperclassmen, you're doing some volunteering hours. It's an extra thing on your activities, extracurricular list. We've got SAD, which is Students Against Destructive Decisions. And so they come together and just talk about how we can make a better school climate, a warmer school climate where kids are making not destructive decisions.
Yeah, they go, every year they go to a SAC Summit leadership conference in March, so they just did that a few weeks ago. They do a mock crash.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody comes and does that, so they can see what it would be like to, unfortunately, bad decisions be.
Yeah.
So kind of hits them, I think, seeing it visually.
Ski club just ended, and so that's, the skiers and the snowboarders can take the bus. They go up to Jiminy Peak. I'm not a skier, so I don't know the places around here, but that's something that, they can bring their equipment to school, leave it in the front office, and then they take the bus. They'll go off for a few hours, and, there's a few opportunities for them to do that. There's a student senate, which is another club where, kids can get a feel for that student government life. And the youth activation club is one that I probably have the most experience with, which is why I can definitely talk about it a little bit better. But that one is basically run by the life skills teacher for this year, and it is working with students with disabilities. So you're fundraising for things like the Polar Plunge for the Special Olympics. We went in November, and there was that whole commercial that had went out online, if you had seen that. But that raised, I think we raised over $10,000.
I think it was
Yeah.
like 14.
Almost, yeah.
The original goal.
And so the numbers just keep getting higher. The kids really enjoy it. And it's something where, it opens up the opportunities too. If your child is interested in unified sports, we do unified bowling, which just ended. We do that right at Hilltop. And then there is unified basketball, which should be starting up relatively soon. And so that's something too, where if your kid is interested in playing a sport where we don't have a varsity or junior varsity bowling team, but your kid likes to bowl, here's an opportunity for it. And then same thing for basketball. If you have a child who wants to get involved in that sport on a more intramural, less competitive level, and just kind of to have fun with the game, that's what Unified can be for. It's just a really nice environment to be in. It's also just another really nice thing to have as a life experience. And I don't know, I enjoy it. And then we've got the yearbook club. So that's also run by two of our teachers. One is Mrs. Labshear, Mrs. Furlong again, our librarian. And they go through, they're taking pictures and they're designing things. They're making votes on just how to build out the yearbook for the year.
It's just really important for your child to get involved.
Yeah.
If it's one thing or if it's 3 or 4 different things, it's really good for them to get involved, to try new endeavors, to make new friends, to get out of their comfort zone. And we love for them to get involved. If there's a club that your student, that we don't have, that your student would like to start, I think that's how the Anglers Club started.
Yeah.
There are students that love fishing or just want to learn more about fishing. And Mr. Barkham, thank you, took the lead on that and has started the Anglers Club. So that is something that's just exciting. It's just something different for the students to do.
If you've got
I think it was,
Yep.
yeah, we also have
the gaming club, and I was going to mention too, if you have a child that's into any of the video games or board games, we have a D&D club now. So that's something that I believe it's Mr. Villeneuve and maybe another teacher too, but they do that where they have a whole campaign going.
I don't understand any of it, but it's great for the kids. No,
But yeah,
what
they're
questions do you guys have? We went over a lot. I'm sure it might be a little overwhelming, but we are here to answer questions. Like I said, we go over this every single year with the child. And if you have questions along the way, please reach out to us. We're happy to answer questions. We will make sure your student is on track. We'll make sure your student is meeting the requirements. So it's never going to be a surprise to you. We're not going to call you up in May of your senior year to say your kid is missing 3 credits. That will not happen. We'll make sure they are on track.
and if it's something where you're thinking that you want your kid to be on an advanced regions track, and then they come to us and say, "Oh, I don't want to do Spanish 3 and finish out that language requirement," we're going to have that caveat with them and say, "Well, if you do this, this won't happen, and let's make sure it's okay with home." And so that's part of just making sure when they just don't want to take an extra thing, but then here's the reasons why you might need it or want it.
Because they're teens, might always want to do what they should do. I'm a teen myself, so I get it.
So if you have questions, please.
Yeah.
let us know.
Just one.
Yeah,
What if they want to get into Questar?
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
So
How does that go about in getting them enrolled in something like that?
absolutely. So that actually, applications were just due at the end of last week, and so we get those results back in the end of April. Yep. So when they go through 9th grade, it's nothing that they really should concern themselves with, focus on getting the classes you're in done and doing them well. But then in 10th grade around December, we went into classrooms and did a presentation on just the website, on the things that they offer, because we go to the Robert H. Gibson location. So anything outside of that location is not a program that we can do. So they'll tell you right on the website, I think aviation's one of them that we don't do because it's at a different building, but then it'll specify which program is where. So then we get interest forms, and then in January we had all the kids that were interested go on a field trip with us to the building, and they signed up for 2 different sessions. So we had students who were interested in culinary arts, and then did that. They did cooking. They made tzatziki sauce, I think. It was really nice. And then they had a second option too. So some of them were in the criminal justice area. They were doing fingerprinting. We have the gaming and multimedia, or they were making their own video game on the field trip day one. And so they come home, then we get the application forms and we say to them, hey, just turn this in by March 13th, it was for us. And so we've had a handful turn those in and we submit those on their behalf. And then now we're just waiting for those results, but they start.
So it's basically up to Questar who they pick.
Yep. And so what they look at is, are you on track to graduate? Did you pass your 9th grade classes? Are you doing well? Do you have a crazy discipline record? Do you have a crazy attendance record? Are you going to be responsible if you're in that construction program and you're trusted with power tools? And so things like that.
Competitive over the last few
Yeah.
years, so,
It's becoming very popular, which is
yeah.
great.
Yeah. It's a really, really nice opportunity. And it's something too where you can go on the field trip, you can apply and still say no at the end, right? Like they could accept you and you could say, well, I'm actually not interested in that. When we do course selection, we'll make sure that we make a schedule for both a Questar day and a Tamarack day in case that's something that falls through or your child doesn't want to do it anymore.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just, can you talk a little bit, I kind of missed what Key Club is?
Sure, yeah. Key Club is a lot of volunteer work. It's actually an international organization, and we are lucky to have a chapter here. Kids go out and do a lot of volunteer work in the community. An example is the blood drive. We have a blood drive here that the Key Club runs. They also do other volunteer opportunities. They work at the food bank, do food drives, clothing drives to help people in the community and the school.
Thanks.
This is what Sharon.
Mhm.
Runs that.
It's also really nice when you have a child that's doing those extracurriculars, those clubs, maybe it's a sport or just anything extra, because it is that kind of long-term goal too, where we write a letter of rec, but you want to have a relationship with your teachers so that they can recommend you for things, and that you just get this full rounded high school experience as you move on into that post-secondary world.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you for coming.
Please.
Anything on the live stream?
I don't see
No
anything.
questions on the live stream?
Is everybody familiar with the website, how to find any of us if you need it? I can go over that quickly too if needed. But basically, you find the high school building and you can go to the staff directory. When you hit find, you can type any one of our names in there and it'll just start popping up. Like Mrs. Bishop is already right there. It goes in alphabetical order, has a phone number and an email. And so we have a counseling center section on the website, but if you just type up our name, you can find us right in here too.
Course selection guide is on the counseling center, part of the website too. So all the courses that are offered throughout high school and which ones get college credit, that's on there as well. So each year when we go over that with students, we have to look at that and sit down and talk with them about the courses they're taking.
So that's about 22 pages of everything we offer. And
Yeah, I found that online, I wanted to print it out. Right today, actually.
Yep. And so that's the thing too, like where Mr. Jakes wasn't here today, if you want to get in contact with the 9th grade team leader, you can absolutely find him on that directory. Very nice guy. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.